fiber friends. I hope you're having a good day so far. If you are not a stranger to my videos, you know I like to start with asking everybody to pause and write in their comments what their goals are craft-wise for the week, and then to come back in 7 days to let everyone know what did and did not get finished. I will share a goal for the month that I have, or at least until my next market, at the end of this video. So the first items that I completed last week were for crochet roulette, and the spins were space for the theme and red for the color, and decided to make a rocket ship, an astronaut, and an alien. So for the rocket ship, I found a free pattern in a blog called Ollie and Holly, and this is quite a large make. I did decide to use acrylic so it wouldn't be enormous, and I also kind of thought that the texture of acrylic worked better with the texture of a rocket ship. And I also had this red yarn that I want to use. So let me show you that again. It's pretty big, pretty fat. There is definitely a lot of stuffing in here. This is one of those things where I just take all of my jar of scrap yarn and just dump it in and then get going with the polyfill. I do like this. I think it is better suited at a market as a prop than it is for something that people might buy, and that is what happened at the last market. And of course I said I will get into that in a little bit. The astronaut and the alien are gone, so I'm gonna actually scoot over, and as I edit I'm gonna put a photo up on those. The astronaut was a free pattern on Ribbler. Sorry, I'm looking at my computer there for a second. The author is Van Vaz Amigurumis. I don't like to say anything negative about patterns other than this very much should be a free pattern. Felt like the instructions were pretty basic, kind of lacking in detail. You made one leg and it was just like magic ring, I don't know, maybe it was 12 crocheting up. You make the second leg and then it was just join, single crochet around. And then I think there was one row or one round of decreases, and then you sew in the arms and you pop on the head. And for some reason, when I was looking at the photo, it looked like that crocheted ahead, and I think there were 18 or so stitches left open, and my brain was processing that as that would be where I would sew in the helmet. But you actually make the helmet separately, you sew it onto the head, and then you use that open space to attach to the body. And I just feel like there is opportunity to do more with that pattern. But one of the items in Crochet Roulette that have yet to be spun is protective cover. And I've been kind of mulling on that here and there. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, do you mean like make a book sleeve? Do you mean like a turtle shell? But I could see how astronaut could be protective cover, so maybe I will work on that pattern a little bit and make it my own. I also knew that somewhere I had the sparkly blue yarn and I wanted to use it for the reflection in the visor, and for the life of me I could not find it. And then when I was tidying up before my market on Saturday, I was like, oh my gosh, found it, here it is. So another opportunity to make another astronaut, also because I got that rocket. So maybe I will make several for a future market. The alien that I made is called, look, Zap the Brain Eating Slug, and it is by Mommy Gurumis. That was fun. That was a great little pattern, very quick, very easy, very market friendly. I could see myself in the future making a whole rainbow of them to put around that rocket ship. So not disappointed in Crochet Roulette this week. The current spins, or the spins for this week, are Enchanted Creature and the color turquoise. I am making two things. One is already done. The second one I'm working on. I'm gonna have to get some more yarn. I'm about ran out of the one ball of turquoise that I had. But I'm gonna wait till next week to show you. So after finishing crochet roulette. The last two things that I wanted to make for the Beatles festival, I wanted to make blackbirds. I wanted to make a deer, riffing on the song Dear Prudence. So I found this blackbird pattern, and this is a fairly priced pattern on Etsy, and the author is NZ New Zealand, I think, NZ Hooked Designs, and this is the red-winged blackbird. There were a lot of bird patterns, and as I was looking for the right pattern to buy, I couldn't really find any free ones. So many blackbird patterns relied on wire for the feet and legs, and that just doesn't really like work with the style of amigurumi that I do, because that would make it very uncuddly. And also, honestly, it's not my style because I am terrible at bending wire. So I found this one, and I think it is a cute make, but it is just not giving me the vibes from the song at all. It's too fat and too serious looking. I wanted something a little bit more light and whimsical, and this is not it. So besides the fact that we all know what it's like to crochet with black yarn, the toe, well actually the beak and the toes, I believe, started with 3 single crochets in the magic ring, which is hard enough. And then when you're trying to do it with chenille yarn, and I'm going to be straight with you, not the best quality chenille yarn, because I have a giant stash of the Dollar Tree just chenille that I'm trying to work through. It was just not working, and I was starting to get mad. So I ended up doing the beak and the toes in acrylic, but I also have been kind of playing around with mixing textures on one make. I kind of like that. And then you make the tail, you make the wings, the head and the body are all one piece. I used these like dark pink glitter discs for the eyes to go with this part of the tail, and it's cute. It's a serious blackbird. It's just, I think this may be better for a different market. So made that. I managed to get one deer done, and it is, well, the official pattern is Dory the Deer by Smuggle Beans Crochet. I am loving these sploot patterns, and really starting to understand the value that you get of buying paid patterns, because, oh man, look at this. Look at this. This is just the cutest thing, and it can sit like this, and then it also sploots. And this is using just chenille, so it is a thinner yarn. I have been using a size 4 hook. I have used a 3.5, but I think the 4 works just fine without creating holes in the fabric. The hoofs I used from Yarn Bee Adorable. I don't remember the name of the color, but this was a darker brown that I already had. And then this is just chenille in tan, and I'm sure this is just called white. And the ear color is called Oyster. Available at your local Dollar Tree for $1.25. They are small skeins. Pretty sure this was only one. You start with the head, and you make the ears, the front and back, crochet them together. You make the arms and legs and the tail. And then I feel like with this and the lamb that I made, by the time you get to the body, you're almost done. Which is kind of strange. And even the body is way less work than the other pieces. And I did follow the instructions to use a pantyhose leg filled with the poly pellets, and I do like the way that she sits because of that. It's not too heavy, and I think I also put them in the arms and legs, and that was a feat to tie off the pantyhose in something this small. And because I'm cheap, I do take like one trouser sock and cut it up into multiple pieces, and then I was putting knots on the top and bottom. And then the last thing that I made this week was a sea turtle. I did not get it quite done in time, but I did finish it yesterday. And I just think this is the cutest. I believe this is Michael's Sweet Snuggles. The label was not on either. I want to call him Kool-Aid the Turtle because that's what the colors are reminding me of, but I know that's a copyrighted phrase. I need to come up with something that sounds like Kool-Aid but isn't quite. This pattern is free on Ribbler. It is by Dragons and Yarn. For a turtle pattern, it's just okay. I thought there was too much sewing involved. You make the shell and then you do a row of back loop only and then change color to the bottom. You make the head and then you make the front fins and the back fins, the tail, and everything is sewn on. I think there could have been an easier way to do this, and maybe the more premium turtle patterns have instructions for crocheting in the fins and making it a little bit of a faster process. I did the shell color as kind of a decoration for the fins because I was playing a very serious game of yarn chicken and I did win. But I kind of like it. I think it kind of ties everything together because this purple goes nicely with this yellow and pink variegated yarn, but it doesn't exactly pick up the same colors, but I think that kind of nicely tied it all together. And I use these really big, I think these are maybe 30mm eyes with the green disc. So I think this will sell at my next market. And then the last thing that I made, it doesn't seem like much, but I was working on some other things that I might be telling you about later on in the video. At the market, I did what I always do. I made a market bag. And this is largely freehand. I started with a circle of just single crochets. This purple is from Peaches and Cream at Walmart. I cannot find this cotton yarn anywhere but Walmart. My local Michaels and my local Hobby Lobby, and as you know, I really don't like shopping there. They do not have sugar and cream there. I think Michaels has its own, I know Hobby Lobby has theirs. I can't remember what it's called. Crafter's Secret, I think it's called. Which is fine. I mean, it's just like sugar and cream, but Hobby Lobby is not my favorite place to go to. I'm not even sure what yarn Michaels has in their house brand that resembles like this stiff cotton yarn that a lot of people don't like, but frankly, more for me. I do know that this is sugar and cream. I had bought it at a thrift store, and what I did was, once I made this circle, I did a half double crochet and a chain in this first row where I did the color changes, and then after that I did a half double crochet into the chain space. And I really like how the bag gets wider, and then when I switched back to the purple and I did a little bit of decreasing before I got to the handle, I just love the shape of it. And I might just keep this for myself as a lunch bag if I end up doing some not remote work. What do you guys think? I really like it. And I am very surprised how close the purples match, and these aren't even the same brands. So stay tuned for the next part of the video, which is a market recap. It's because I put on some makeup for an interview I had earlier, and the sun is going down, so I'm relying on some artificial light instead of the natural light that usually comes in here. So let me tell you all about the Fab Fest that happened on Saturday. The day started with me arriving around 8:30 in the morning to a very specific place on the community college campus. And when I pulled up, I did find the person that I was communicating with about the event, and he said, okay, so unload your stuff, go through the building, up the elevator, through the building, outside, and you'll see a table with your name on it. And I was like, whoa, I don't have a wagon. I thought I could just pull my car right up. And they were like, no, you got to go through the building, up the elevator. And I'm like, how am I going to carry all that? And they said, oh, well, we'll bring you a hand truck. And they did. And it was 2 trips from my car to my setup space using the hand truck. It wasn't that bad. And the whole time I'm like, oh my God, what if everything just like spills? Especially going over bumps through the doorways, like through the electric doors. It worked out. It was fine. Didn't lose anything. It was a really good exercise too, because stuff's heavy when you have to lug it around that far. And so I don't remember if I had paid less for the outdoor space, or if because I'm not like an official Beatles memorabilia vendor, I have no idea, but there were only 4 other people that had outdoor space. And there was a very big marketplace area inside where it seems like people that just like travel around to shows selling Beatles stuff. And I was like, I don't remember, like, did I just not pay for that indoor space, or was that not available to me? Because it seems like I paid a lot of money to have space here and to be put outside and to not even really have people next to me to bring people outside to shop. Seemed a little not too keen on that. And it was this rectangular space, and it seems that the organizer just put like 1 tent per side of the quad. So like if you go outside, immediately stepped outside, there was a table with some people doing balloon animals, and there was a family selling cotton candy, and there was me. That might have been it. And where I really felt bad were the food truck people. Actually, let me back up a little bit. When I looked at the map, I could see, I didn't know how big this quad was, because I was like, oh, this is going to be fantastic, because I'm in a quad area with a bounce house and a coloring wall and food trucks. So I was like, perfect. Especially being so close to the food trucks, because if people are opening up their wallets, they're going to open them up again. No, this quad was really big. And even the people I think that had the balloon animals were in a more premium space, being right immediately outside from where all the inside stuff was taking place. But so there was the building, and then there was this quad where I was, and then behind me was a kind of like tree-lined area, and the food trucks were behind that. I don't know if those food trucks got any business at all, because at one point when I went inside, the college's food service was open. So there was like pizza and some other things that I think would normally be available for college students on a Saturday. And I don't know if there was like a rule that outside food had to be like so many feet away from the school so that they can make an appropriate amount of money on their food service, but I did not see anyone. I was occasionally like look back through the trees and I'm like, man, are they getting any business at all? And I think once I saw some people walking around with some ice cream cups. I think poor planning. Even with the inside people, there were a lot of people walking around, but I did not see a lot of people carrying shopping bags, unfortunately. And at one point I did talk to one of the inside vendors, and he was just kind of like, no, I'm not really selling much today either. So kind of feel like I was placed in a B area, not the premium A section, if you know what I mean. Just kind of dumped outside with nobody next to me. It was just like me. It's a little awkward too. Like there weren't any tent neighbors. And the day started with a yoga class in that quad. So I'm like, nobody's gonna come over here and buy something with a yoga class going on right there. No one's gonna interrupt that. But I'm like, it's cool. It's only like from 10 to 11. I'm gonna be here until 5. Like maybe people will stop and buy something when they're done with the yoga. No, that didn't happen. A little bit after, a family came by and the little boy picked out this beaded fidget octo that I've had for quite some time. And I was like, that is an interesting choice. And he really liked it, and he liked playing with the beads. So that might have been like around 11 something. And I don't think I even made another sale until after like 1 o'clock. I was starting to get a little sad. And not even people really even stopping by to look. Like I would get the occasional looker and I would of course like talk them up and be friendly, but then they would just walk away, which, you know, we all do that. I certainly do that as a consumer. Like I don't buy things from every single vendor that I walk up to. So my next sale, like I said, I think was around like 1 something, and I believe it was from some festival volunteers that were operating like this family fun area. There was a coloring wall and things. I think they brought their kids over to pick something out because I think they noticed that I was just kind of standing there and not getting any business. But they did come over and they bought my yellow mushy boy from Crochet Roulette the other week, which I was a dummy and priced it at only $20 because I didn't, just the yellow seemed wrong to me. And I looked at so many other people's mushrooms after and I was like, oh, I could have just done a yellow cap. But no, the boy was yellow and he has a blue cap on. Just wasn't my favorite. I liked the pattern. I'm gonna make more of those, but just not in yellow. But that sold a little while later. I think it was to some college students. I sold this acrylic Hello Kitty that I've had for a little while for $20. I sold after that at some point a rubber duck, dashboard duck. I mean, they're not rubber, but you know, they look like rubber ducks. It must have been my orange turtle, which I had. It's little. I mean, it's, you know, can fit hand-sized. And at one point I did have a whole like citrus turtle family. I had a lemon, a lime, and a grapefruit. And the lime was the only one that I had. No, it was orange. I only had the orange turtle left, so I did knock down the price. So he went for $10. One point I sold 2 keychains. I made a lot of keychains for this, and a lot of people looked at them and said, oh, these are great, these are cute, and then didn't part with their $8 to buy one. And then finally sold my reversible octo whale that has gone to me for like 2-3 markets, and tons of people pick it up and they're like, oh, that's the coolest thing. And then this must have all been to the same, yeah, it was a mom and dad and a baby. And I did warn them, I'm like, you know, these eyes are not baby safe. And I said, just please don't leave your baby unattended with this toy. And they were like, okay, absolutely. Well, then they also bought the astronaut and the alien, which was exciting because I had just made those and I'm thinking, wow, like all my Crochet Roulette stuff is selling. The only thing I have left, I think, is the koala and the really lame walrus keychain that I passed as my submission 1 week. So I'm like, all right, so I'm doing pretty good on Crochet Roulette things selling. And actually they bought the octo whale and the astronaut first, and then they came back around later and ended up buying the alien as well. And I was like, do you want the rocket? And kind of as I expected, I think their nice way of saying no to me was, oh, I think maybe an older child would appreciate that, but it is big and it's not that detailed. It's just like this big fat rocket ship. But like I said earlier in the video, it's gonna make a great prop for selling astronaut and alien amigurumi. Not mad about making the rocket ship. I'm gonna keep it until it sells. Sold, actually I'm really glad I sold this. It was a loaf cat that I thought was ugly because I put the eyes too close together, but this little girl loved it. I am getting late in the day now, and because I'm looking, there were 3 more sales after that, and this was like the last hour. And I was just really bummed about the day because it was so slow. So few people even came outside because it seems like all the good stuff going on was happening inside. But a lady came and bought a bucket hat that I had on my mannequin head, and it is really, again, like one of those attention getting items to really kind of like get people to look at the bandanas, which are cheaper items. But this lady just loved this granny square bucket hat, so I'm like, great. And she paid the $40 and then tipped me 5 more. So I was like, okay, I love it. I hope it's, you know, it's a little warm out right now to wear it, but I hope you enjoy it. And then I sold an octo keychain. That person tipped me an extra $2 as well. And then at the very end of the day, I sold or not the end of the day, but my last sale of the day was a smaller life cat, and a raccoon. I'm wrong, there were two more sales after that. Was another cat and a yellow submarine. I made 5 yellow submarines, sold 1. But that was a $55 sale. And then right towards maybe like 15 minutes before I packed up, somebody came and bought a small handbag, which is like a little phone and keys bag. It's pretty small, but she was saying this is great because I'm going to be traveling and I can put my passport in this and keep it safe under my clothes. And I was like, yeah, that's a really good use for that. So the whole day, including the 2 people that tipped me, I sold $273. And I'm making this face. I am disappointed because I thought this would not only be a better attended festival, but I thought I would be in a busier location. And what I also neglected to tell you a minute ago was after the yoga, it was an open mic. And I am all about people enjoying the arts and performing, but I'm gonna, some of it was awful, like painful. And I felt for a little while kind of upset because I was stuck listening to horrible performances. And I love kids, but it seemed to be put on by a music school that serves a lot of like middle school aged young people. And I mean, that is very brave of them to get up there, but some of them, it was all confidence and no talent. And then there was supposed to be a cover song contest later on. And I was like, okay, let me just like get through the open mic because anybody that wanted to could just walk up and perform. There was no vetting at all. And ooh, some of it was terrible. Not that I could have gotten up there and done any better, but you didn't see me going up there and trying to perform either. I know what I'm good at. And thinking the cover song contest might be a little bit more competitive, it ended up being a lot of the same kid performers coming back to sing the same song for the open mic contest, and they did not improve that much from one performance to the next. Let me just, it was hard. I've said enough about that, but I think that's why people didn't come out there. And for the open mic, I noticed it started like around 11:30. There were way more empty seats than filled seats. And I'm just like, what's going on? Why aren't people coming out here? So I don't think I'm gonna do this again. And I also keep telling myself there was a time when I would have been Snoopy dancing over $273. Lately, I've been doing better. I've been getting better at crocheting. I've been getting better at finding good events. I was wrong about this one. I thought this was going to be great because when I was at the Blues Festival a couple weeks ago, it was actually the owner of this music school that put on the Beatles Festival, and he was really hyping it up and really wanting me to be there and like, oh, your things could be really appropriate. And I think he just wanted my money. And I don't like that. I almost feel swindled. Like somebody hyped this up and then I hyped it up and I spent 3 videos talking about how much I was doing to get ready for it. But just because I made it for this market, it doesn't mean it won't sell at my next one. And there's nothing wrong, or I don't think it is so incredibly niche that it wouldn't sell anywhere else. But also, it's different. So even if there are 4 crochet vendors at my next event, no one else is going to have a yellow submarine. I don't think anybody else has a walrus. And I can have like a little like Beatles area, and maybe some boomers or Gen Xers like me will think it's cool, and it will get sold. Just it didn't happen on Saturday, and with the $100 vendor fee, I left feeling pretty bummed. But my next market is November 2nd. It is called Front Porch Sunday. This is a market that at first I did not get into, and then I found out after my first application was rejected, I was waitlisted. And then I got an email saying you have been accepted for the one in November, which is the last one of the year. And then it picks up again in I think April. So I'm like, all right, this could be a good one. And I don't know if I've said this before. I tried going out to one of those markets and it was so crowded. I just went home because I couldn't find a place to park. So I'm thinking this will be a good one. And also, I don't think she's watching my videos, but Christine from What's Up Cupcake was on the same orientation Zoom call that I was on, and I'm just feeling too awkward about sending her a DM and Instagram to be like, hey, are we gonna be at the same event? I don't know. We don't know each other. She's probably never even heard of me. I do watch her videos all the time, and I am not her. She's been doing this longer than me. She's probably been able to put more energy into this than I have. I only got started like a year ago, and I only really started taking it seriously in maybe June. It's now October, but I am going to link a document to the description of this video to show you I made a plan of a minimum of 1 plushie per day, every day until that next market. So I will be back next week to tell you what did and did not get done for this week. I did say earlier that I was working on some other things. I'm just gonna say that I bought a domain and I started working on a website, but that's hard. Enjoy, and I will see you in the next one.